Good afternoon, traders. We are going to be getting into stock ticker GME, and then I want to leave a surprise for you guys at the end regarding a potential play on DWOC, or DJT as it's called now. I wanted to jump right into GameStop, and I wanted to give you guys my conviction on why I believe that this thing is not done here, why I believe that this thing has one more leg higher. There's a lot of different things that go into it. Primarily for me, my favorite indicator, the MACD, especially on the weekly time frame, and then the RSI on the weekly time frame. Two very important indicators. Regardless, this thing is in a bull flag. And now your question is, what are you going to do about it? You see, you have one more week to trade in this thing, and you have one more week until GameStop earnings, guys. Typically, every single time into earnings, you've pumped. Pump. That one was after earnings. Very weird. Pump. At least in the last year. And that's because the earnings have been significantly bullish. You've beaten earnings in a dramatic way every single time the last 4 times. And I don't believe that this time is going to be any different. If I have to be honest here, guys, you have a decent amount of things that have happened with GameStop since. But what matters is where we're at on the charts, where the indicators are at, how much time GameStop has given the indicators to catch up to allow for greater price action. And in my opinion, of course, not financial advice, you're going to see something crazy. So I wanted to go over 2 things. MACD, RSI, right? You do have this trend line that is formed on the MACD since back in January of 2023. So you can see this is pitch perfect MACD divergence for bulls. You had a higher high on the MACD, a lower high on price. You had one more bullish divergence on the MACD down here of a lower low but a higher high on the MACD, and then that's what took you higher. You crossed the center line, and as you cross that zero line, you absolutely moved like a maniac. And now GameStop is uniquely positioned in this high support territory that you're curling up. You're curling up not only on the 4 hour, and I say this because every single time frame matters when you're this coiled, guys, but on the 4 hour, you're curling up on the MACD. You're curling up on the weekly MACD, so hopefully we can see a shorter time frame affect the longer time frame, and that this thing can begin to climb out of this very compressed, very coiled pattern here, and then regain this critical support on the MACD. And if you do so, you could break this downtrend on the MACD, flip the zero line for the first time since back here, right? So in case you don't know, flipping this zero line right in the center of the MACD is inherently very, very bullish. You can see back here, as soon as you flipped it, that's when you got this end of the tail end move of the breakout. You flipped it here on the chart, and that's when you began to get your squeeze up. And then you flipped it like right there, which is when you got the most explosive pop of that move. So very, very important for bullish momentum, for people to see potential long signals that the short-term trend is bullish, even though the long-term trend may be bearish. That is where that zero line plays into effect. And you're pretty dramatically oversold here. Just to give you guys another example of when this happened on the weekly time frame with the MACD, you created a pattern or a resistance line back here in the January squeeze. You touched it here on the MACD. Let's zoom back out. Touched it here on the MACD, compressed, and then you broke that down here So you went from 11 up to 18 in that very, very short rally. But that very, very short rally was 58%. So I love the look on the MACD. I think it's inherently bullish. Now let's go over the RSI, right? The RSI, you have hidden bullish divergence. And in case you don't know what that means, I literally have a chart underneath my computer saying which divergences are which. But hidden bullish divergence is when you're making higher lows, but the RSI is making lower lows. That means bulls are stepping in at key levels. Cough, cough. This resistance line right here, or this support trend, is creating hidden bullish divergence, where the RSI is cooling down while you move higher. That is bullish. Where it would be bearish, there is just one touch of hidden bearish divergence where you make a lower low here, and then you make a higher low here. That is the only touch of bearish divergence, and I think you've seen that effect pile in pretty heavily. You went down 40% in 21 days, and then you just have been annihilated trading sideways. People have lost their minds on Twitter. So what I'm looking for on GameStop is that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 touches of hidden bullish divergence within a bull pennant. What I'm looking for is the RSI to begin to curl up here as you get the MACD curling up. And if you cross this RSI band at the exact same time you get the MACD cross, guys, that is where people will begin to talk about GameStop once again, because that will allow for the momentum to get back up here. And if you break this, oh Lord, if you break this, you're going to go insane. I'm talking back into the bull zone at around 80 on the RSI, which you have not done on the weekly time frame since the squeeze. So just to give that perspective, guys, the RSI is playing out a long-term pattern here, and breaking this band would be tremendous because of the place that we're at. We just have to be very honest about where we're at on the chart and see that anything can happen. But with momentum indicators swinging up, with fundamentals swinging up, I mean, 10 billion in cash and assets is no joke, guys, for a meme stock with heavy short interest in a bullish flag pennant. This could become crazy. So in looking for places where this could stop, I've done a few things. Here. Let's take the first one. Let's actually just leave it. I took the all-time high, brought it down to the local range, and then down to here. That would give you a potential turnaround spot of $32, a little bit extended from the two gap fills we know we have in the daily at $28 and $30. That could be a potential turnaround location. I would not be surprised. Maybe you make one more bump on this MACD midline or MACD downtrend before you find support here, and then it's just too tight, and then you go. Very, very possible, guys. So we have to continue to be patient with GameStop. It is an evolving company. It is a ready chart. So I'm very excited to see how this plays out next week. It just feels like it is agonizing to see this thing trade at the levels that it's at. It's up 1% today. That is actually one of the largest movers that it's had in quite some time. So you love to see that. GameStop is crossing or testing the daily mid-band on the RSI. And hold on, hold your horses. You have created, let's get rid of the RSI for this one. You have created come on. Bullish divergence on the 4-hour. On the MACD, so you've made a equal low or a lower low. Meanwhile, the RSI has made a higher low and is beginning to curl up on the 4-hour chart. So that is a good look, being this tight in the formation. And now we wait, guys. Now we wait. September 6th. Literally the pinnacle of this pennant is September 9th. Or actually, earnings September 8th, sorry. The pinnacle of this wedge is September 9th. So literally cannot go further than next week. And I'm excited to see what happens. I would anticipate some kind of gap up and then a fill of that gap. If you look all over this chart around earnings, this is a monstrous gap down. This is a monstrous gap up. Gap up. Gap up. Monstrous gap down. And most of these moves and these gaps are around earnings time. You can see this is earnings. This is the gap down. You can see gap down. This chart or this part of the chart just looks hilarious. I remember seeing this in real time in 2024 and just thinking to myself, how do I chart this? Like, what the actual is this? You know, earnings gap up, gap up, gap down, gap up, gap up. Just crazy volatility. But that's just an example. Going into earnings, you gap up, you gap up. Earnings, you gap down. Earnings, you gap up. So it's not foreign to GameStop, and I think that you could see something very similar. But our thesis, our bullish case remains the same. You see how tight we are in this wedge, and you see the gaps above us. Let's mark them. Boom. Boom. So we know where we're looking for resistance. And then, of course, the beautiful gap, the big, beautiful gap at $73. That is my target. That is the one that I hope and pray that we can make. Because that was back in June of 2021. You left a gap back there. So the story is set. We have to wait and see, unfortunately. I know you have to remain patient. If you guys enjoy the GameStop coverage, if you guys enjoy the AMC coverage, please do me a favor and slap the subscribe button, because I don't plan on going anywhere. I plan to be one of the best and one of the most dedicated finance YouTubers in the space. So God bless every single person that has joined the crew so far. I appreciate all the love and support that we've been getting. But that is my GameStop coverage and the levels that we could expect to see resistance on, along with the indicators and how they're playing out. Now let's get into our little surprise known as DWAC. DWAC or DJT. I think it's always going to be DWAC to me, because that's how I remember it debuting. DJT is in a very, very unique spot in which you're seeing similar things to GameStop, right? You actually did see a daily, drumroll, a daily MACD divergence. So this is just another example of how this is playing out on the market. You can see that you made a lower low, but a higher low on the MACD, and that thing is beginning to climb towards the center line as you kind of form this broken pattern, right? You form the broken pattern right at the end, faking out bull or bears, getting them excited, thinking that this stock is going down to depressive levels, right? Maybe if you wanted to, you could do something like that. And maybe that's your falling wedge, right? Very, very possible. You could still see this thing double bottom at $11. But I think with the MACD daily divergence, that gets me a little bit more excited and optimistic that you may hold this trend line that you formed at 11, revisited during the election, and then are now forming this almost Ethereum-like broken pattern towards the end here, in which you may have the opportunity to do something like this. Boom. Whoops. Get that out of here. Where you may have the opportunity to do something like this. Come on. Into the 200-day EMA, retest the wedge, and then go for that gap fill up at $40 that you left. And I have been eyeing on this stock since the election, January 17th. I believe it was a day after inauguration, right? Hilarious that is when that happens, because only this stock could have done something like that. Possible catalysts, more Bitcoin acquisition or purchasing. I believe they own couple billion of Bitcoin. So I would not be surprised to see something like that, but it will be all eyes on DJT if you're able to regain the 50-day EMA here on the daily time frame. Let it be known, if you regain that 50-day EMA, I will become very interested in this stock, and you will be back above this uptrend after a broken pattern going into the end of this resistance here. The resistance literally cannot go on any further. Let's get rid of that. Any further than 912 to 911. Never forget. So if you mount the 50-day EMA, that gives you a potential to climb and ride the worm until you get a downsloping golden cross. I think that would take you, if you saw some kind of explosive news, or if Trump does something right, a potential 122% gainer, and a beautiful setup. A beautiful, beautiful setup. You just got a weekly cross on the weekly MACD. The monthly is still oversold, but you are forming a monthly potential hammer candle. If you can close this month out strong, maybe it's monthly close that gets you in, right? Monthly close as a hammer candle would be around $18.50, so only 75 cents away, and you would close above the 200-day EMA on the monthly time frame. That would be significantly bullish on DJT. So the setup is not quite there yet, guys, but I will continue to update you on where this thing goes, because that could be some nasty opportunity. So not financial advice, guys. Thank you for tuning in once again. My third video today. If you're not subscribed, I don't know what you're doing. We're continuing to post great TA and great we're just having a fun time, you know. I love talking about stocks. I genuinely do, and I love hearing you guys' feedback and you guys' comments, what stocks you love, what stocks you're in, and the positive support. So we're going to keep this momentum churning. Until next time, guys. This is my last one for the day. Peace.